Hi guys, today I have a sort of special review for you guys. A review of the Novritsch SSX303. Hope you guys enjoy. But before we get into the review, let me tell you about our sponsor, LA Kappa Customs. And make sure that you stick around and don't skip this segment because I'm going to tell you how to get a shout out on my Instagram story at the end of this. So LA Kappa Customs, they sell custom high kappa parts and make custom high kappas along with selling stock high kappas. If you're not familiar with what a high kappa is, it's basically an improved 1911. It has a similar look with it's able to hold more rounds in the magazine, and just generally, in my opinion, looks better and performs better than a 1911. I personally love high kappas and have built 2 custom ones using parts solely from LA Kappa Customs store, and I would highly recommend you check them out if you're looking for an upgraded pistol or upgrades for your pistol, high kappas in particular. Also, if you don't want to build a high kappa, they sell custom pre-upgraded high kappas, which is super nice. It's all assembled in the box for you. You can select the parts and they will put them all in, so you don't have to have a ton of knowledge on how to tech on high kappas. All you have to know how to do is put in the parts and they will put it all together for you, which is, in my opinion, super nice. And now on to the shout out part on Instagram. If you use my code when checking out an LA Kappa Customs, HVA, all capitals, it will take 5% off your order, and if you DM me a screenshot of you using that code on Instagram, I will give you a shout out on my story. So you guys can hit me up on Instagram for that, and make sure to check out LA Kappa Customs. I will have a link down in the description of this video. Alright, now let's get into the review. Alright, before we get into the review, just one last thing. I am going to have this camouflage sort of kit on the gun that Novritsch sells because I put it on. It took me about an hour and a half to put it on, and I really don't want to take it off because I don't want to have to put it on again, so it's just going to kind of stay on for the rest of this review. That way you guys also get a look at the new Novritsch camo system, at least for this gun, the SSX303. One of the first things I noticed is that this gun does not come with a hard shell case like every other Novritsch gun I've ordered. And this actually isn't a bad thing because those hard shell cases cost about $60 for Novritsch to throw in. And this is, by the way, what you get instead. It's a cardboard box. It's still very high quality, but it's not a hard shell case. But I actually like that Novritsch does not include a hard shell case because instead of the money going into that, it goes into the gun with more upgraded parts. And I really like seeing that because I'd rather have a better performing gun than have a lesser performing gun and a gun case, because I already have a gun case. So I really do like seeing this, and I'm pretty sure a couple people or some people out there won't like it, but I think the majority will like seeing more money going into the gun and less money going into a hard shell case. Some of the first things I noticed when taking this out of the box is that the pistol grip is just like the SSX303, the pistol, because when I took this apart I realized that there is just an SSX303 in here with an extended barrel and I'm pretty sure a different hop-up, along with a TDC mod, but I'll get into more of that later. But I have always liked the grip of the SSX303. I know it's a little bit too big for some people, but it fits my hand perfectly. As for the trigger, it may just be mine, but the trigger feels different than the SSX303, which is what's supposed to be in here. When I'm pulling the trigger, it feels shorter, like a shorter trigger pull. You can still put it at that like half cocked back state where then you can do a shorter trigger pull. That's also the only way to engage the safety, is to slightly pull the trigger until it locks back, and then you can push the safety up right there. Which, I don't know, I don't really use my safety too much because I don't have a magazine in when I'm not in the game area. But this isn't the best, in my opinion, way to have a safety on a gun, because it's really hard to sort of get that hammer cocked back in the back there, because you have to pull the trigger perfectly, whereas with the SSX303 you could just pull it back with your thumb. So I kind of wish there was some other type of safety that you didn't have to pull the hammer back for, but since I don't really use safeties too much, that sounds really bad, but I don't. This isn't a big deal for me. Now the gun does not come with the suppressor and scope included. I already had a Novritsch suppressor that fit this, and I bought the scope extra. This is the new 1x4 variable scope that Novritsch is selling, different than his original one. I'll tell you more about my thoughts on that later. But that is, I don't really like seeing that you have to get the suppressor extra, which was the same for the SSX303, because this gun's main feature, or one of its main features, is how quiet it is. And to achieve that, you have to buy extra things after you buy it. But I do understand that somewhat. Along with customs, you can't ship guns with foam-filled suppressors or things like that, airsoft guns. I'm not totally familiar on all the customs rules, but I'm pretty sure that has something to do with it. So I would rather like to see the suppressor included with the gun, not so much the scope, but just the suppressor. But it's not a huge deal having to buy the suppressor not with the gun. The stock back here is also really nice. I know it's hard to see with the camo wrap on, but you can still adjust it actually with the camo wrap on. This is, I'm fairly certain, your average M4 stock, if not a little bit, not customized, but upgraded than your average one. It feels really good in the arm, and it feels solid. Like if you were to drop this, it wouldn't break or anything. It just gives you a solid feel when aiming. And I personally really like that they had this adjustable. I just like everything about the stock back here. Everything on the gun is made out of polymer, so it is really solid. If you were to drop this, it would not realistically break. It's not made out of plastic or anything like that. Aluminum actually is, I'm fairly certain, what this is made out of. Same with the scope and the suppressor, it's all made out of aluminum, which is nice to see because it has a solid feeling to it. Besides the pistol grip here and maybe some other parts, this is plastic, but not a huge deal because it still feels pretty strong. Now, the FPS of this gun is actually adjustable. There are different nozzles that you can put in here, which will be, it's the same as the SSX303. I'm not going to do a disassembly video because I don't really think it's necessary. But if you guys would like me to show you how to exchange nozzles, I can do that. So Navrich sells extra nozzles on his website that you can adjust the FPS with, getting it up to 2.7 joules. You can get this thing shooting really hard, or you can get it shooting below 1 joule. I'm not precisely sure what that equates to FPS. You can look that up because I'm not 100% sure. That is nice to see that the FPS is adjustable here because out of the box this isn't shooting too hard for me. This was shooting about 350 FPS out of the box. So I have installed the upgraded nozzle, shooting at the highest it can now. It's shooting at about 460 FPS with a 0.20 gram BB, which is good because I'm going to be using this as a DMR, so I don't really mind having to be 50 feet away from people when engaging them. You can also use this in CQB with the lower velocity nozzles, and for me it was also super easy to install, so that is nice. Also, one last thing. You can actually exchange these nozzles into your SSX303, the pistol. So let's say that I wanted my SSX303 to be shooting about 350 FPS instead of 280 where it is about right now. I would install the second highest powered nozzle that I got in the kit, and I put that into my SSX303, and now it is shooting at 350 FPS, which is what I actually did. I really like that those are interchangeable, as I'd like to be able to adjust the FPS of my pistols too, and in this case I can. This was a super nice feature. You probably all already know this, but I'll still go over it. The magazines are the same for this and the SSX303, so you don't have to carry different types of magazines. This can also be holstered in the same holster as the SSX303. So if you're doing a sidearm swap, you could holster this at your side and pull out your SSX303, and then unholster this when you're done. This is a nice feature that, from what I've heard, the Navrich team actually didn't really know was a thing until they tested it one day. So that is still a really nice feature, and I like seeing that. One of the main features of this gun is how quiet it is. It's a super quiet DMR. So I actually did an audio test for you guys from 20 feet away and 120 feet away to see how loud this thing is. I'm aiming at the camera and the camera is aimed at me, so this should give you a realistic sort of estimate of how loud this would be if you were firing this at an enemy or what they would hear. So let's put that up now. Alright, let's do a range test before I go on to some likes and dislikes I have of this gun. Also, for the range test, I will put the distances up on screen along with the wind level, because at some shots it was really windy. Also, I was using 0.45 gram BBs and the stock nozzle. I had not upgraded the nozzle yet. So it was shooting at around 350 FPS, not with 4.5s, with 2.0s, and I was using 0.45 gram BBs. Let's look at that now. Alright, that's 3 shots on target. little bit windy. Yeah, they're going way to the left. Wait a second for the wind to die down. Yeah. Yeah, that's all the shots. The wind's just too bad. So at 300 feet at that last sort of distance, there was so much wind that the BBs were going all over the place, and I don't think the gun was quite reaching 300 feet. I am almost 100% sure if you were to put an upgraded nozzle in here that made it shoot harder, you would be reaching that 300-foot distance. But stock, this gun has an effective range of 250 feet, maybe a little bit further, because at 250 feet, I was still able to consistently hit my dad with, I believe, every shot. One might have missed because of the wind, but when you have less wind, this gun is a laser. And for the price, I'm honestly just so impressed. All right, let's go on to some likes and dislikes that I've had with this gun, or sort of pros and cons. Let's start out with likes. I really like the way that this gun feels. It is also super light. You can keep it up for a long time without your arms getting tired, which is something I cannot say for my SSG24. I also like how quiet it is, something that my SSG24 also does not have. Along with just the semi-auto feature, honestly, I've only played with bolt actions outdoors, and I've never realized what it's like to play with a semi-auto gun, or not to play with, but to shoot one with the same range as my sniper rifle. Honestly, I can't wait to play with this, and it's just so effective. It range, semi-automatic. I also really like the fact that it takes the same magazines as my SSX303. That way I don't have to carry multiple types of mags. The adjustable FPS is super nice, and honestly just the feel of this gun. There are a ton of other likes, but those are some of the ones that sort of stood out the most. Now, no gun is perfect, so let's get on to some dislikes that I have about this gun that I've experienced so far. The first one that is a huge pain, and this might be just mine, but it is the hop-up adjustment. You're supposed to be able to adjust this with your finger like you would with any AEG. That is not the case. This thing is so hard to move, this little dial right here. I had to get out a screwdriver to pry it to try and move it. The TDC works great. I really like that feature because I can get my hop-up so fine-tuned. But actually adjusting it is a huge pain. And I was hoping that this could be something that on the field, let's say I have a little bit too much hop, I just move it a little bit with my finger, a little bit too little hop, I move it with my finger. No, for mine, you are going to need a screwdriver. You're going to need to pry it in there and pull on it to move the hop up. If this is because of any issue you guys might know of, please put it in the comments. But I really didn't like this at all, especially because Navrich said that it should be easy to adjust, just like any AEG. This was not. Another dislike I have that's not necessarily with the rifle, but actually with the scope. This isn't a terrible scope, it's not great either. It did stay zeroed the whole time, it didn't move or anything, but I just really don't like the look of the reticle compared to my other Navrich scope, rifle scope. Also, the scope is smaller. When looking through this scope, and then looking through my Navrich rifle scope, the difference is just tremendous, with the Navrich rifle scope just bringing up a clearer, bigger image than this scope, which also can only zoom in 4 times, which should be enough for a DMR, but still didn't feel like quite enough. I think a max of 5 times zoom, which is what I use on my other scope, would be perfect for this. 4, for me, just doesn't cut it. Also, just the look of the reticle, I don't know, I just don't like it as much as the mil-dot reticle that is inside of my Navrich rifle scope, the other one. But overall, this scope isn't terrible. It's just not my favorite. Alright, so now let me give you my final opinion on this rifle. Honestly, I am so impressed with this. This rifle is, if I'm correct, $270, and it shoots as well as my SSG24. Now keep in mind that the FPS of this is actually lower than my SSG24, and it has a shorter barrel. So I don't know how Navrich got this to shoot just as far as my SSG24, and with better consistency, but somehow he did. Honestly, I would recommend this over any of the other Navrich bolt actions. because it is semi-auto and it's going to shoot as well, if not maybe a little bit worse than those guns. And when I say worse, I do not mean consistency, because this thing is so consistent. If anything, I might mean range, but that would be the only thing with this. It is super consistent, and as you saw in the range test, effective up to 250 feet with the stock nozzle. I think with the upgraded nozzle, it would be effective up to 300 feet. So I would totally recommend this gun for you if you're looking to be a stealthy sniper, or if you're just looking to be a sniper in general, like a beginner sniper. I would recommend this over a bolt action totally. It's going to be a lot easier to use. The only thing that won't be as easy is the fact that you have to fill it up with green gas and worry about the gas instead of a spring, which is quite simple. But semi-automatic shots, it's really worth it in the end. So I would totally recommend this gun to you if you want to get into airsoft sniping, or if you're looking for something to spice up airsoft sniping for you. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have any questions about this gun, you can put it in the comments or DM me on Instagram. Also, about the sponsorship thing, if you DM me a screenshot on Instagram of you using my code HVA at LA Kappa Custom Store when checking out HVA all capitals, I will give you a story shout out, so remember to do that. And if you want to check out this gun, I will have a link down in the description. It is on pre-order right now with quite a long wait, but trust me, it is worth it. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and stay safe.